The Philippine-American War. Before the war had started, the relationship between Americans and Filipinos started at the Battle of Manila Bay. On May 1, 1898, Commodore George Dewey Naval Squadron destroyed the aging Spanish fleet in Manila Bay. In the beginning, a small unexpected U.S. troops arrived 1 month later, followed then by a large contingent under General Thomas M. Anderson. Because of this, Aguinaldo believed that the Americans had come to help securing independence. Aguinaldo then proclaimed the independence on June 12, 1898. On June 12, 1898, Aguinaldo then signed a newly written Philippine Declaration of Independence, inviting the highest-ranking American officer, Colonel L. M. Johnson, to witness the ceremony. On August 13, 1898, mock battle of Manila happened. Without Aguinaldo's knowledge, US and Spain agreed to stage a mock battle in where Spain surrendered to the United States alone. In the defeat of Spain, President McKinley of the United States moved to solidify US authority over the Philippines and expand the US military occupation. General Otis then repeatedly demanded Filipino soldiers to give up their positions on the outskirts of Manila. Meanwhile, Admiral George Dewey ordered Filipinos to take down their flag, which symbolizes U.S. taking over the nation, while denying the promises made to Emilio Aguinaldo regarding national independence. In December 1898, McKinley gave his benevolent assimilation speech, claiming U.S. sovereignty over the islands, addressing that the United States do not want to imply any imperial control. Rather, it was for the Philippines to have liberty and strengthening the justice and rights of every Filipinos. But then, Otis and most U.S. military officers didn't have any intention for benevolent assimilation. Rather, they were prepared for war. The battle began when armed hostilities happened between Americans and Filipinos. On February 4, 1898, Otis ordered his sentries to fire at any Filipinos entering the American-occupied territory. That morning, 2 American privates shot 4 Filipino soldiers. On the following day, U.S. troops and artillery units launched a full-scale attack on Filipino positions, resulting in the death of approximately 3,000 Filipino soldiers compared to 60 Americans. The 1st Idaho and 1st Washington Volunteers massacred hundreds of Filipinos who tried to cross the Pasig River. About 700 Filipinos who attempted to cross in boats and by swimming were killed, drawn, wounded, or captured. Winning Filipino hearts and minds. Taking control over Central Luzon, the American officials realized that they could not rely on military force alone. So, they opted for a two-track strategy. One, waging a war against Aguinaldo and his nationalist fighters, and two, winning over the non-committed and various constituents through accommodation. Accommodation includes building roads, improving sanitation, appointing Filipinos to local government councils, and tutoring Filipinos in the art of self-government under American rule. It served an important purpose as it appeased the cornerstone of the military policy in the Philippines, all for the objective of establishing U.S. rule and use the country as a basis to extend U.S. power and influence. The method was cost-effective as the Philippines participated in its own subordination by administering and policing itself. Through the accommodation method, the Washington recruited the Ilustrados, who are the wealthy Filipinos, to participate in the colonial endeavor through threats, inducements, and rewards. The U.S. Army even recruited soldiers among the Filipinos, especially the Macabebes, who served as scouts and joined paramilitary and police forces established after 1901. Continuing to fight U.S. troops conventionally and suffered numerous defeats, Aguinaldo launched a guerrilla war against the U.S. troops. General Arthur MacArthur, successor of Otis, hoped to crush guerrilla forces. He ordered U.S. forces to wage war against civilian population in hostile areas. The Americans employed torture, executed prisoners, raped women, looted villages, and destroyed the rural economy. He loosened restraints of war under General Orders 100, leading to excessive use of force and other abuses. These measures included burning suspected villagers' houses, relocating entire villages into concentration centers, and engaging in aggressive interrogation techniques. The most notorious examples of these tactics were applied in force on the islands of Samar and Luzon. Ironically, it was also General MacArthur's report that led to press to talk about the oppression happening, confessing that American troops were not engaging in civilized warfare. Rather, it was solely focused on force, violence, and brutality. In March 1901, a daring raid led by General Frederick Funston resulted in the capture of Aguinaldo. His capture led for some combatants to surrender, but it did not end the Filipino insurrection. Instead, the guerrilla continued and American grew increasingly harsh. Repression intensified under new commanding General Adna Chaffee. In September, approximately 50 U.S. soldiers were killed in a surprise attack on the American garrison at Balinga on the island of Samar. After the news of massacre, General Chaffee assigned General Jacob Smith the task of pacifying the whole island of Samar. He issued orders to kill everyone over the age of 10. On July 4, 1902, less than 1 week after the Senate hearings adjourned, President Roosevelt officially declared victory in the Philippines. But the war, in fact, was not over, as fighting in the southern provinces continued until 1914. But the fall elections were approaching, and Roosevelt did not want the burdens of the war to diminish Republican political prospects. On the same day, Roosevelt issued Proclamation 483, which granted a full and complete pardon and amnesty to all persons in the Philippine archipelago who have participated in the insurrection. By July 4, 1902, the U.S. had lost 4,234 dead and suffered 2,818 wounded. About one-fourth of American soldiers who had died in the war were killed in battle, while three-fourths died from disease and other causes. The overall casualty rate of 5.5% was one of the highest of any war in American history, according to the historian Richard E. Welch. As for Filipinos, U.S. forces killed an estimated 16,000 to 20,000 soldiers, and as many as 200,000 Filipino civilians died from violence, famine, and disease.